Hello, hello. How we doing, everyone? Hopefully, you all had a very nice trading day today. And sorry, I'm just messing around with sound real quick. There we go. Please confirm, can you guys see my screen at the moment? Awesome. How we doing, guys? By the way, right? Let me know. Did we have some nice trades today? How is it? I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I know every time, I don't know if it gets easier with time, Right now, I've been trading for about a year and a half full time, like as a full time trader, and the weekends are so rough, dude. Because every time I come back from the weekend, it's like I have to get back into it, right? And as soon as it comes to the middle of the week, I'm like I'm fully into it. Like tomorrow, I know I'll be fine. I do apologize for my voice, but I don't know. It's hard to get back into it. I had a successful day. We'll look at it, but opening the charts on a Monday, it's sometimes a little more rough. No trades, big stop loss, just didn't participate. Well, it happens. Sometimes the market just doesn't provide what you want to see. And so you go on and you wait for the next day. For myself, right, we talked about this during the weekly outlook. I wanted to see some form of retracement before going lower, right? And I had this box drawn up, which is this inversion fair value gap, but we had yet to form the range. And honestly, seeing Friday's close, seeing where Monday opened, we retraced higher, but then continued lower very aggressively. And most importantly, we're at this liquidity. So even if I want us to go higher, we have to form a swing here. So I was looking for lower until more specifically I had this level drawn out just because that is the nearest higher time frame liquidity. But here we'll dive down to the 15-minute and discuss a little bit more as well. I know the news changed, so it might have, if you follow my rules for news, it might have been a little destabilizing because you saw pretty much what we basically the news that were announced that we had access to this weekend are not the news that we have now, right? We had CB consumer confidence that just got basically put down on the impact list, so no longer red news. As I personally said, for me, it is a high impact news. It doesn't matter what Forex Factory says, it doesn't matter what anyone else says. I have the data behind it, and for me, that's a high volatility news, so I want to wait until after. So personally, I was waiting until after 10 a.m. So as you can see, just from a 15-minute chart, we had very nice delivery today with accumulation here. All of this as part of accumulation manipulation that was confirmed with SMT, which we will mark out. As you can see, this level right here, let me just mark it out correctly. We had SMT, that's right at 8:30, I believe. Yes, so 8:30, so an early New York Judas swing. Time-based manipulation, once again, confirmed through SMT, and then we can distribute lower. We also had lower time frame SMT right at the open, which we'll look at in a second, and you could start framing trades at that point. As I said, for me, a little hard to get back into it after the weekend, and to be honest, usually on Monday, I'm still looking at charts a little bit. I never trade them. Well, Monday no news is just never a trading day unless it's NFP for me. So usually I do end up looking at charts a little bit, but yesterday I didn't. And see, today I was a little less confident, so I took it easy. But we'll dive into it. And just to look at what I was looking at on the 15-minute, right, there are some very important swings. I like to zoom out like this, and it's on purpose, by the way, that I don't see the individual candles. Because when I look at something like this, I'm always looking for what stands out. This stands out. This stands out. This stands out. This. These are what I refer to, at least in my mind, as important points in market structure. So I'm not going to go into, for example, right, I'm an ICT trader. I'm not going to go into short term, intermediate term, and long term swing highs and lows because I don't care for this. I just open my chart and I look at impulse moves. So this low formed a move, this low formed a move, and you can see them. They jump right in your face. So this is what I'm targeting on a day like this. So for me, and just to draw them approximately, right, this is a take profit. Well, actually, you know what? Let's draw them correctly. because we're going to use them on our charts. I'm going to show you guys because I was targeting this. So when I have a short opportunity, I then look at my 15-minute chart and look at nearby liquidity. See, everything beforehand was already taken. So I'm also going to mark down the lower ones so we can discuss as to how specifically I interact with them, right? And all the way to previous day low, current weekly low, however you want to name it. That was my final objective. Sorry about that. Objective in this case. Can I just make those a little less wide? There we go. Let's make it a little cleaner. Let's go down to the 1 minute chart and discuss this more in depth. So as I said, personally, I was waiting for 10 a.m. So you can see right here that I was waiting for this and only managed to catch a small part of this move, which was more than enough for me. I did not need more because looking at this, you're like, oh, I could have traded all of this. Okay, cool. That's 400 handles. But what if you only caught the last 100 points, 130 here, right? And even here, 50 point TP and then further. We'll look at it. But truth is, you had SMT at the open, right? You had a clear Judah swing. And then, just to mark it out as such, look at this. You had SMT. And if you know my rules for the Rise model, the only time you can trade before a high impact news event is if the session open, and in this case it's this swing high, so let's actually mark it out as what it is if the open does a nice Judah swing. What is a Judah swing? It's a move in the opposite direction of what you're expecting, all right? And we can go into the algo, and it's the fake move before the real move. Truth is, if I'm looking for shorts, I'm looking for a move higher first, and then I'm going to look for that to be confirmed by SMT at a specific time. If you get that at the open, I don't have to wait for news. Now, as I said, myself, I did not do that today, and I should have, and that's a mistake by me, but a little weird off the weekend. If you did see that SMT, the entry was super easy because this is a breaker block. Once again, you might ask, well, isn't that just a mitigation block for those of you that have watched too much ICT content like I have? No, because of this SMT. So we know that SMT means that, okay, well, ES took out this level. So I can treat NASDAQ as if it did take out that level. So once again, you have a swing high to a swing low. Then we took out that level because of the SMT. And once we broke back down below it, that forms a breaker block. So right here, breaker block. And of course, you could have just looked to the left and seen a bunch of breaker blocks, but I always like to refer to most recent price action. To more recent, I guess would be the best way to put it. Even in small consolidations like that, yeah, even in consolidations like that. And now you might want to tell me that, hey, there's SMT on both sides of the range, because there are, right? In this case, it is that swing low right here. So in cases when there's SMT on both sides of the range, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to wait for a raid, right? This is how I interact with price. I need to wait for price to form a raid, or just let it run. At this point in time, your entry, you were already broken out of consolidation. So would I take a trade right after this breaker block? No, because there's SMT on both sides. But what is that? 7 minutes later, we've already displaced lower right here, formed an inefficiency for you to enter on. And let me just change that color. I hate seeing that much red. I'm having a hard time right now. 10 a.m. news too. Yeah, exactly as I was saying. So today you could trade before the open. I didn't want to point that out because that's the trade I would have taken. Like if I executed correctly today, that's what I'm supposed to be taking. And see, let's just put 3PD array stop loss. Gives you a pretty wide stop in this case, to be honest. Pretty rough stop. Yep. But as you can see, definitely plenty of reward there, plenty of clear take profits along the way. I would have liked to take profit before the news, and see right here we reached actually 2R, so definitely would have been a nice take profit just before news, break even this trade. So definitely a very nice trade there. But as I said, not something I took, but just to tell you, Brian, I still wanted to showcase it because for me, 930, we have a Judah swing higher, as we can see on ES as well, confirmed with SMT. So I should be trading before the open. Like for example, if I had mechanical rules, then I would be trading before the open. Sadly, I misexecuted today. And if you were waiting for that 10 a.m. news, right, as you're saying, Justin, right, you were looking for higher. I personally was looking for lower. As I said, a very clear continuation from the daily chart in my book. But honestly, both sides were justifiable. So we'll look at both. But in this case, anyways, there are no bullish breakers that are formed right up until all the way down here. So that's when we'll look at it. But first off, we have 10 a.m. news. Let me actually plot a vertical line here just so we can see. From this, we can see that right at 10 a.m. we expanded. Now 9:30 already did the manipulation part, right? As we just discussed. So does the 10 a.m. news have to manipulate? Not at all. So all I'm really looking for is a setup at this point, right? I'm just waiting for news so that I don't get pushed out by another fake move if it does come in this area. And if we look down here, we had no breakers in this area, which would have made for a very nice setup. Like I just saw this inverse fair value gap here where we displaced through it, forming a balanced price range, as people like to call them. But you had to wait until later, right? And if we look right here, I know I saw a breaker block, but I'm guessing now, looking at price, that it was a lower time frame breaker block. Or no, actually. It was just a breaker block on ES. Sorry, here, I'll use my cursor so you guys see what I'm seeing. I thought I had a breaker block here, which I do on a lower time frame perspective. Here, like for example, just this candle is a range. But it's quite hard to visualize on a 1 minute chart. But if you look at ES, you have that breaker block right here, right? High, low, higher high, broke the low, that forms a breaker block. So you can use that as a breaker block on NASDAQ. If it's a little hard for you guys to visualize here, I'll just go down. Don't even need to go down to the 15-second here. I'll just go down to the 30-second and you'll see. See what I mean? That is a range. And the one candle that I just drew that I tell you this is a range, it is this range. So you have to understand the movement of price, right? The symmetry, as I always like to say. We went up here, then down here, then up here, then here, here, here. It's a lot easier to see in live markets, but if you're having a hard time visualizing it, just look at a 5 or 15-minute chart and then go down to your 1 minute and see, oh, well, that 15-minute candle represents this specific movement. So specifically on NASDAQ, you got to be locked in to hit those 50-second breakers. I don't know. I've been doing it for a while, so for me, it's just second nature. But nonetheless, in this case, you did have a range. It's just a one candle range. So it's quite hard to visualize, but this is a swing high to a swing low. So how can you decide if it's good or not? Well, it is a swing high to a swing low. It is a range. We broke the high of that range. We broke back below. That is a breaker block. And you have an overlapping fair value gap right here. That's the trade I personally took. But in cases like these, I just like to say that, hey, ES formed a breaker. Well, it's a breaker for me on NASDAQ as well. And see, Unicorn was formed just a candle before, actually. Entry at the same time. And you had a very nice trade, in my opinion, because it was a quick trade. So right here, if we look at the stop loss, you'll notice that you have a very tight stop loss because this right here is a swing high. So that is liquidity. So you have fair value gap, and the liquidity here, which also allows for trading into that order block. Now, what if you put your stop here? Well, you would still have had at least 2R return on this. And as I always like to say, if I don't have a clear objective, and even if I plot standard deviations here, let's see if we have something a little cleaner. I'll see this is too low of a risk to reward. So no, I would definitely just look for 2R, take profit, and then hold a runner. But for myself, I had the tighter stop loss. So the 3PD array stop loss right here. On MNQ, the breaker was 2 candles. Well, awesome. Means that on MNQ, it was even easier. Because this is not a swing high here on NASDAQ, I believe. It's kind of hard to see, but no, clearly not, right? This is not a swing high. But if we look at ES right here, you can see this is a swing high to a swing low. So in tight consolidations, it's a little hard, but when you're trading a continuation, that's where the breakers form in that consolidation. And you want to trade the move out of that consolidation. which with my stop loss allowed me for plenty of risk to reward. I actually took profit at 2 standard deviations. There's just something with 2, right? 2.2 R for 2 standard deviations, like it's meant to be. Sorry, I just like noticing stuff like this. But taking out this liquidity inside that reversal range, that is a very clear objective for me. I actually went break even as soon as we took this. Why? Because I'm entering late on a move. Best case scenario, I'm never going to enter here because I'm always waiting for more confirmation. So best case scenario, I want to be entered here. And if we draw out our implied dealing range all the way down to previous day low, which is just a great objective for shorts, right? Which we did not hit today, if I'm not mistaken. But right here, I know that all my highest probability entries will be in that top range and then in this range, but here I'm late in the move. It doesn't mean that I'm not taking the move. It just means that I'm late. So I'm going to manage it more safely. Well, can you say that more safely? I'm going to manage it safer. However the word is, right? So entering here, as soon as it hits an important liquidity level, why is that important? 15-minute chart. No need to understand it. 15-minute swing lows are more important than 1 minute. So I target those. I know we can reverse from this point. So let me go break even. And if you look right here, had a nice take profit here. I did not take additional profits here, which I do regret. And I ended up force closing my trade. Where is it? As soon as we took back this level here. So I held on and left all of my money, which this is a bad thing in my book. Just looking at same, Brian, I don't know when you said that. Do you mean like what I just did? How you managed the trade? But for myself, see, this was a very clear partial, and then I was looking for more. I was anticipating that we see a retracement, but nothing like that and nothing that long. But we did reverse during the 1050 to 1110 macro, and we decided to continue lower. As soon as we took out this low, I had been waiting for almost an hour, well, a little more than an hour actually at this point, for price to go back to the level where I could have took profits at this point. So I just decided to fully close. Now, in this case, it was the best thing to do. And that's mainly due to luck. I should have looked to take profit here, take profit some more in this area. And the reason for that being 3 standard deviations, where stalling in between, after taking out one objective, between another objective, we're stalling. This is just a great area to look to take out additional profits when I'm having a riskier trade, so a later trade. And I should not have allowed all of this return into my profits, right? Price digging, all of this drawdown, pretty much this profit drawdown, so it wasn't negative. But definitely should not have allowed this. I would have much preferred to get stopped out right here. And yes, I would have lost out on some money, but it would still been a better managed trade in my book. Does your SMT breaker work at the 1031 candle on ES? Let's look at it. So 1031 candle. That is very low. Are you talking about taking a long here? Which we'll discuss in a second here. If you were looking for longs, this is the area you'd be looking for them, so we're going to discuss this, but definitely a lot to unpack there. There's SMT, NQ didn't take it. Do you mean these 15-minute levels for us, right? I did not write them down. Well, write them down. I did not plot them on my chart. I am on the 1. Okay, so on the 1 minute, you're talking about looking for longs, right? So in this area. Yes. Okay. So what are you talking about? What are we looking at? Oh, okay. So just very basic SMT here, which was all the way here and here and here, right? SMT was true for that whole period of time. So that is great SMT. Personally, I was short right now. I was more focused on managing my trade. As I said, I should have took profit there. I just wasn't on point. But what you are saying is, could this be a nice long opportunity? 100%. For me, my bias was short, so I was not looking to trade retracements, especially after such an aggressive expansion early on in the week. We usually see trending days. Now, of course, looking back, we had a very nice retracement to the upside. But do you really expect it to have a nice move after 400 handles? For myself, no. I was wrong today. So that could have led to some very nice long opportunities. Specifically, if you're looking for longs here, we just took out an important level, right? That 15-minute swing low. We have SMT formed at this point in time. So your question being answered here is that, yeah, once we trade above this, this is a breaker block. But if you want to make it even simpler, you just have a breaker block right here. But yes, I did want to answer your question as well, right? Right here, we took out this low, and then, well, we rebroke that low. So it would actually be here. Now, this is also another hard one. Swing low to swing high, plot those standard deviations, and then we broke that low, and then we went to break out that high. And did we have an entry on this move? I'm looking at this. I see this inversion fair value gap. Did we trade back down into it? Is this even an inversion fair value gap? Let's look at it. The low is 2162.25. I'm looking once again top left of my chart. And the high here, 62.25. So no inverse fair value gap right here. You would have had to wait and your entry would be here. Would this be a valid entry? Yes. I can't say anything wrong about it. It is a great entry. You have fair value gap, then order block and invalidation of the breaker. So that's a pretty large stop. But once again, doesn't mean it's bad, right? You are talking the closest candle, not the high that started the move. I don't care about the high that started the move at all, right? For me, I'm always going to be looking at, how can I say, it's just more recent. Why? Because it's the first breaker that's going to form. That's what I'm interested in. I'm looking for the early entry. I don't need to wait for us to go there. But it's true that the high that started the move, once we expand past this level, that's the point where I have a little more faith in my trade. In this case, honestly, just having that entry, it's like, where are you going to target? Okay, well, I have relative equal highs here. I have 10 a.m. open, I can target, but you're trading a retracement in a very aggressive bearish market, which means that it's a riskier trade. Would I have taken this trade targeting those relative equal highs, looking to take a partial just before? Well, actually my RR would not have allowed it. Would I have taken this trade? Yeah. I mean, I don't see this as a bad trade at all, but it's the sort of trade that I would have won break even actually as soon as we expanded up here. And for myself, as I said, I was short. I'm not going long when I'm short. And yes, if we do refer to premium and discount, even just of the opening, we have a 15-minute area here, which we'll look at in a second, for the nicer long, right? The one that worked. But in this case, it's a loss for myself. As I said, we go here, we expand, we're in the reversal range, right? So if we slow down here, that's just price telling me go break even. We already expanded. I was up basically 1R on this position, so halfway to my take profit, and price slows down. Well, okay, what can I do? I can mitigate risk. I wouldn't do this on every trade, but now I know that I'm offside. I'm trading a retracement. I know that. How do I know that? Because of this, right? We just went 450 handles lower. So now the probabilities tell me that the move I'm trading is a retracement. Why? Because how often do we go down 450 handles and then fully reversed in a single day? Very not often. So there's a high probability that this is just a retracement. And this move after was also a retracement. So I would manage it as such. And on a retracement, I want to mitigate risk as quickly as I can. Am I going to do it here? No, because I'm not even up 0.5R. Well, actually just about 0.5R. Here we're just consolidating. So I'm just waiting for price to finally go at this point in time.